Hi, it's Agnes and Kayla. This is your YouTube that you asked for about resistance. And also, it would be good to talk about non-resistance because they're, two opposite ends of the stick, as Abraham Hicks would say. So, resistance is when you have a lot of negative emotion towards the thing that you desire. So, let's say, for example, you want to have a fantastic job, but you feel like I will never be allowed to work there, or I'm not good enough to work there, or they will never hire me. Those are resistant thoughts that will not get you that position. Okay? So, to go from the resistant thoughts to the non-resistant thoughts, which therefore then move you towards having the position, you have to be in non-resistance to get the position, okay? So, what you would do is all those statements that I mentioned before, you would start to look at them because they're thoughts and then they're beliefs. If you think them over and over and over, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So what you would do is you would go with a piece of paper or just in your mind or into your phone, and you would go over them, repeat them, look at them, read them. Your new statements. So they would be, wouldn't it be nice if I could work in that place? Much softer, much less resistance. Wouldn't it be fantastic if they called me for an interview after I sent in my CV or resume? Wouldn't it be amazing to have lunch right here opposite my workplace and to be enjoying this lovely cafe? Wouldn't it be great to be having an increase in salary to what I have now by working there? So this is what you're doing. You're creating new thoughts, and then you're thinking them more regularly. And of course, in the beginning, you don't think of them more regularly because you've got your old ones going on. So you write them down on a piece of paper, as said, or on your phone, or until you can commit them to memory. And you practice the new thoughts more regularly. Now, you'll get to a point where it crosses the threshold of 50%, then 51%. Once it hits the 51% mark, you're moving into non-resistance. So it's quite mechanical. When you look at like a timeline between 1 and 100, you go from not believing, which say would be a 1, and then you move all the way up to 51%, and then you head towards 100%, or even once you hit, 80, 90, you are starting to see the evidence of your new thinking. Perhaps somebody tells you there's a job going there. Perhaps it's you see it advertised. Perhaps you see a sign in the window. All those sorts of things start to happen prior to you really just enjoying it and feeling that you're there. So, and that is the other component. When you are then moving from non-believing, resistance, to believing, which is non-resistance, you forgot what I was going to say. You start to, you just start to feel better about that subject when you think about it. That's what I was going to say. So you're moving. This might take obviously more than a day to go from not believing something to believing it. But you're crossing the bridge, which is the belief bridge, okay? So to attract anything, you have to believe it. And it's blind faith, and it's also doing the things that help, which a lot of you know now, whether it's affirming or doing a vision board with pictures or meditation, imagining it already, living in the end of it, as Neville talks about, Neville Goddard, which there's already 2 YouTubes up about that. But yeah, if you see the resistance and the non-resistance like a timeline with one point at one end of I don't believe this at all, to the other point at the other end, which is I do believe this, and then you start to see the evidence. So, and I wanted to say too, Abraham Hicks talks about this, and it's really great. People say, oh, how do you know when your manifestation's going to occur? Well, you can actually track and trace it. How? This is where it gets really interesting. You look at how you feel. So if you're feeling really crap feelings of fear, anxiety, worry, doubt, anger, any of those feelings is like a handbrake on your manifestation, okay? Feeling depressed is really down the bottom. If you start feeling angry about it, well, you're moving up the scale. And Abraham Hicks has a emotional scale that you can look up at any time. You can even put it into YouTube if you want to see all the emotions separately, all the way from the really crap ones all the way to the good ones. So when you hit your manifestation. So you're moving through all the negative feelings, then you kind of hit the neutral spot, and then the resistance, you're letting go of it more and more and more, and you end up in the good feelings, which is you start with kind of hope. Hope is still a bit weak because it's kind of I believe, but I kind of don't. And then you're moving into, you know, more the joy and a bit of excitement and a bit of happiness. And then once you start hitting those feelings, you know that you're actually happy and feeling okay without the thing manifesting. So that's how you track and trace. When your desire not happening right this second no longer disturbs you and you can be happy without it, that's when you're on the brink of it, okay? That's how you track and trace. You track and trace by seeing how you feel in relation to your subject of the thing you want, okay? So I know that's kind of a little bit everywhere, but that's how the mechanics of it works. So you're going from resistance to non-resistance. You're going from non-belief to belief. And you're going from being disturbed by not having your desire to no longer being disturbed about not having your desire. And therefore, you can track and trace by the better you feel around that topic of the thing you want, even when you haven't got it, that's when you're getting close to having it, okay? Now, I'm going to see if I can find the Abraham Hicks How to Track and Trace Your Manifestation, because it's a really, really, really good YouTube. So I'm going to try and find it and put it in the description. Lots of love to you.